In 1902, geologists stumbled upon giant whale skeletons in the middle of the scorching Egyptian sands. The massive vertebrae of ancient leviathans jutted out of the dunes, hundreds of miles from any ocean. Where do entire seas vanish without a trace, leaving behind only rusted ships and dead bones? Official science calls the Wadi al-Hitan Valley proof of tectonic plate shifting. According to historians, the Earth is constantly rewriting its own geography. We are used to trusting satellite images and considering the outlines of continents as eternal constants. But archival maps from the 16th century hold the memory of waters that no longer exist. Navigators of the past recorded massive bodies of water, where today only clay cracks under the sun. Look at the modern Aralkum Desert, in the very heart of Eurasia. Just half a century ago, storms raged here, and heavy fishing vessels sailed these waters. Today, fleets of rusted ghost ships are forever trapped in the toxic sands. The water receded so rapidly that captains abandoned their ships right on the exposed seabed. This documented collapse proves an entire sea can evaporate within a single human lifetime. But if humans destroyed the Aral Sea, who wiped the other great seas and lakes off the face of the earth? In 1752, French cartographer Joseph Nicolas Delisle published a sensational map. On it, in the center of North America, splashed the giant inland sea of the West. According to one theory, Delisle copied secret reports from indigenous peoples and lost expeditions. The sea covered millions of square kilometers, connecting directly to the Pacific Ocean. European monarchs equipped entire fleets to find this strategic body of water. Explorers pushed through wild forests, expecting to see an endless blue expanse. But instead of the sound of waves, they found only endless dry prairies and dead canyons. The Sea of the West was hastily declared the greatest cartographic error of the 18th century. However, modern satellite scans of the terrain are making scientists seriously doubt this. Geologists have discovered traces in this region of the colossal, ancient Lake Bonneville. It covered a massive part of the continent and burst through rocky dams millennia ago. Could indigenous peoples have passed down to the first colonists the memory of a water body that was already gone? Or did cartographers record a momentary, spatial glitch in the climate system? The planet harbors hundreds of such dried-up scars, where life once began. And right now, somewhere on the ocean floor, a new dead desert is forming, while the sands slowly prepare to swallow yet another steel fleet. In 1933, gold prospectors were crossing the scorched Colorado Desert in Southern California. Among the endless dunes, they stumbled upon the impossible silhouette of a giant vessel. The carved wooden mast of an ancient Spanish galleon protruded from the sand. How did a 16th-century ocean ship end up hundreds of miles from the coast? The archives of the Cahuilla tribe have held legends for centuries about a winged boat with white sails. According to historians, Spanish conquistadors were exploring the Gulf of California in search of pearls. A sudden high tide threw their heavy galleon over a sandbar into the inland Lake Cahuilla. Then the water rapidly receded, entombing the crew and their treasure in a scorching trap. Dozens of adventurers ventured into the desert in search of this lost ghost ship. Many never returned, becoming victims of the most cruel optical killer. We are talking about the Fata Morgana, a complex atmospheric phenomenon that shatters the perception of space. This optical illusion projects real objects hundreds of miles away from their actual location. Thirst-crazed expeditions saw sparkling lakes and ships hovering just above the horizon. People veered off their routes, walked toward the visions, and vanished without a trace in the wastelands. But what if a mirage is not just the refraction of light in scorching air? Quantum physicists suggest that sometimes we are seeing projections from our planet's past. Reflections of those eras, when an ocean truly roared in the place of dead sands. Let's move to the other end of the Earth, to the icy wastelands of the Arctic Ocean. In 1810, merchant Yakov Sannikov saw an unknown rocky island from the shore. Sannikov land lured explorers, with its warm valleys in the middle of the permafrost. Baron Edward Toll dedicated his life to finding this mystical Arctic paradise. In 1902, his expedition set out for Sannikov's coordinates and disappeared forever. Rescuers found only an abandoned campsite and journals that cut off mid-sentence. Official science later ruled that Sannikov land was merely fossil ice. A massive island of frozen soil, melted and collapsed under the blows of warm currents. But Toll's diaries describe flocks of birds flying specifically toward this mysterious land. Archival documents indicate that entire tribes of oncolins walked across the ice in the exact same direction. Could a huge island with its own ecosystem simply dissolve in the icy water? Or did Toll's expedition step beyond the navigational maps and find what they were looking for? Cartographers are still erasing territories from atlases that are suddenly swallowed by the ocean. In 2012, Australian scientists set out for Sandy Island in the Coral Sea. This patch of land the size of Manhattan was officially listed on global satellite maps. British whalers recorded its exact coordinates back in the 19th century. But the research vessel arrived at the specified point and found only emptiness. Sonars showed a depth of 1.5 kilometers, instead of the promised sandy beaches. The phantom Sandy Island was officially dismissed and permanently erased from all digital atlases. How could a giant territory deceive navigational systems for over 100 years? According to one theory, it was a colossal floating island made of volcanic pumice. But the archives hide an even more terrifying disappearance. In the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, Bermeja Island had marked the maritime borders of Mexico on official nautical charts for centuries. At the end of the 20th century, colossal deposits of crude oil were discovered around it. The government immediately sent an expedition to install new drilling rigs. The ships combed the entire grid, but Bermeja Island had literally evaporated, rocks and all. According to one theory, secret services covertly destroyed the landmass with targeted depth charges. Oceanographers insist it was merely an ancient cartographic copyist error. However, historical documents prove land truly does know how to be born and how to die. In 1831, the water south of Sicily boiled and spewed thick clouds of sulfuric smoke. Out of the dark abyss rapidly rose the new volcanic island of Ferdinandia. For great empires immediately sent battle fleets to capture the strategic point. Captains planted their flags. The British and the French prepared for a bloody war. But 6 months later, the island simply collapsed back to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. The earth breathes heavily, swallowing entire continents and spitting out new rocks. Our planet is an unstable mechanism, where maps become obsolete every single second. Seas dry up, ships drown in the sand, and islands dissolve into the digital matrix. Perhaps, right now, beneath your very feet, a new ocean is already beginning to form. We will continue to look for documented historical cracks in our familiar reality. If you are ready to study hidden geography and true classified archives, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the truth. Let us know in the comments, Do you believe in vanished lands and optical mirages? Stay with us, and never trust old maps.